I always thought my name, Laura, carried the promise of a safe future. It was how Ethan woke me each morning and how he lulled me to sleep, until last night. I opened my eyes in a strange darkness. The mattress beside me was cold. My first thought was something ordinary: bathroom, thirst, insomnia. Then a whisper floated down the hallway. The voice sounded familiar, but the intent felt different, dry, almost sharp. I got up slowly. The cold floor seemed to complain with every step, beating out my path like a drum. I followed the sliver of light leaking from the office door. I leaned against the wall and held my breath. "She still doesn't suspect," Ethan said, his voice low and measured, nothing like the man who called me love. "I've already transferred it. Everything's ready." The world stepped back from me. Memories lined up like pieces I had never wanted to fit together. The phone locked in a hurry, overtime that never showed up on the clock, a tiredness that never went away. Now it made sense, and it hurt. My fingers groped for the doorframe, my heart hammering in my chest. I heard a keyboard click, then a chair scrape back. He stood up. The doorknob turned. I backed away instantly and hurried down the hall as if every second were broken glass. I slipped into the bedroom before he stepped out, but the question was already pounding in my head. Suspect what? Suspect who? I lay down, pretending to sleep, while his shadow stretched across the ceiling. I heard the controlled breathing of someone guarding his own secret. It was there, frozen in the dark, that I realized maybe the biggest threat wasn't Ethan's lie, but everything I still didn't know about it, and about the person he'd become while I'd been dreaming we were safe. It all started with a whisper in the early hours, a whisper that wasn't meant for me but changed everything. Swallow it. Transferred what? Almost ready for what? The words echoed down the hallway, each one a sharp blow against the house's silence. My heart raced. I feared it would pound loud enough to give me away. Footsteps approached. I dove under the comforter and forced my chest to rise and fall calmly. The door creaked. Ethan came in with the ease of someone not plotting a thing. Eyes shut, I felt the mattress dip as he lay beside me, his breathing a steady rhythm that clashed with the storm in my head. Lying there, I understood one thing. He was keeping a secret, and I was part of it, whether I liked it or not. When the sun finally touched the curtains, I got up silently. I went to the kitchen with my phone shaking in my hand. I'd always left the finances to Ethan. Now that trust felt like handcuffs. I opened the banking app. I scrolled through withdrawals. $500, $1,000, $200, $750, $2,000. 5 in just 3 months. Not a fortune, but enough to prove something was off. The cold counter held me up while I fought the panic clawing at my chest. Money that wasn't paying bills or boosting investments. It was just disappearing. Where to? To whom? Checking the account this early? Ethan's voice sliced through the air. I turned slowly. He was in the doorway, rubbing his neck, a sleepy smile that never reached his eyes. When he noticed the phone, a flicker of tension crossed his face, too quick for anyone not looking. "Just browsing," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "There are withdrawals I don't recognize." He came closer, bracing himself on the counter next to me. Nothing about the move was violent, yet the closeness burned. In that moment, I realized the biggest threat wasn't the missing sum. It was the silence hanging between us about to break. The kitchen felt like a stage for a script already rehearsed. "Just a few small investments I forgot to mention," Ethan muttered before sipping his espresso, looking away. The smile was thin, almost plastic. I searched for a crack in that flawless facade, but he'd mastered the art of lying. That charm was what had won me over. I nodded, pretending to believe him. Inside, something shifted. It was no longer simple suspicion. It was the cold certainty that he was hiding much more. That night, I watched his every move. Messages kept pinging, and the phone, always face down, became a wall between us. Whenever it rang, he stepped away and spoke in urgent whispers. Then an opening came. "I'm going to take a shower," he announced, and in a first, left the phone on the table. My heart kicked up. I waited for the water to roar behind the door, counted to 10, and grabbed the device with shaking hands. The screen lit up with a notification. Send her to Ilium Maro. Make sure she stays in the dark. Almost ready. The blood drained from my face. Who was Ilium Maro? What was almost ready? I put the phone back as if it were on fire. The water kept humming. I had minutes before Ethan came back, and, from what the message implied, before his plan took shape. This wasn't about uncovering the betrayal anymore. It was about saving myself before the truth finally surfaced. The alarm went off, and Laura felt the weight of a new truth before her eyes even opened. She went downstairs. Ethan was already waiting, idly spinning the mug's handle. He placed another mug in front of her, his smile careful and now see-through. "How's work?" he asked, voice way too gentle. Laura held his gaze, though her words were barely a breath. All normal. Inside, nothing was normal. She gripped the mug's handle, holding back the urge to tear away the veil of cordiality covering them. Ethan slid his phone, face down, across the table, a gesture repeated so often it had become invisible, until that morning. "I was thinking we should reorganize our finances," he said with rehearsed calm. "You never know what could happen. If we pool our assets, it'll be easier to manage if anything comes up. I'll handle the paperwork. You just sign." Each word dropped like a piece on a chessboard Laura hadn't known she was playing. Even so, she smiled. "Sounds sensible. Can I see the documents first?" A flash of surprise. Too quickly, he regained his composure. "Of course. I'll have everything ready soon." As soon as the door closed behind him, Laura grabbed the phone. Her fingers shook, but her voice was steady when she called Anna, a college friend turned lawyer. "He wants me to sign something today. I need to get ahead of him." As she explained, she saw Ethan's plan unfurling like a trap. She wouldn't let the next move be his. "Send me everything you find," Anna said, "and Laura, don't rush into signing anything." Laura took a deep breath. In the dark screen, her reflection showed something new: determination. She finished her coffee while it was still warm and went upstairs already plotting her counterattack. The game had started, but now she could see the whole board. The mysterious withdrawals and the ominous message from Ilium Maro echoed in my head as I sat across from Anna. She listened without interrupting. Her calm kept me together. When I finished, she spoke with the certainty of someone who knows there's no time to waste. "Laura, move your assets today." I stayed awake all night. Ethan was sleeping next to me, and every breath he took reminded me of the betrayal I pretended not to see. Anna's advice turned fear into action. "We're going to set up a trust," she explained, "and lock everything down in your name. Ethan won't touch a cent." I nodded. My heart was racing, but my voice came out steady. "Make it happen." In less than 3 days, the apartment, the savings account, and every investment share were safe, out of his reach. Nothing he tried could break that legal wall. When Ethan got home early, I realized he'd figured out our move. He sat across from me, wearing a confidence that made my stomach churn. He dropped a stack of documents on the table and took a deep breath. "We need to have a serious talk." I looked at the papers without flinching. Inside, a storm. Outside, total calm. "About what?" "I want a divorce," he said, like he was reading from a script. "It'll be better for us. I don't want to drag this tension out." I raised an eyebrow, showing no surprise, even though the end of what we'd built throbbed in my chest. "Really?" He hesitated for a second, the only crack in his facade, but confirmed. "Yeah." I let the silence stretch, heavy enough for him to feel the weight of his own words. Then I slid the documents back toward him. "Before we talk about that, there's something you need to know." "There's something you need to know." The sentence hung between us like a snap. Ethan faltered, his brow furrowed. "What?" I locked eyes with him. "All my assets have already been transferred." The silence thickened. He went pale, jaw clenched. "What do you mean? You think you can shut me out?" I kept my voice steady, even though my heart was pounding. "Everything's locked up. The apartment, savings, investments. There's nothing left for you to reach." Ethan gripped the divorce papers. His knuckles went white. He was silently plotting a new move. I stood up. You were right about one thing. The future gives no hints. His eyes searched for a crack, any flaw in my plan. He found none. The board had flipped. I was finally running the game. He inhaled, forcing a half smile that didn't reach his eyes. See you in court, Laura. Don't think you'll walk away untouched. I took 2 steps toward the door, my heart still heavy from what he'd done. I turned just enough for him to hear. Until then, take good care of what's left. And I left the room, sure that this time he was the one walking in the dark. I kept my eyes on his, hiding the flash of fear his words sparked. Then try, I challenged, turning my back with the confidence of someone who's won the first round, though I knew the fight had barely started. 3 days later, the mailman dropped off a thick envelope. Inside, the real strike, a formal divorce petition. He demanded half of everything, my apartment, 50% of the joint accounts, even monthly alimony, claiming he'd quit his career for our marriage. I laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. Ethan had never sacrificed a penny. I'd been the one funding our plans while he schemed in the shadows. Now, he wanted to rip away what little was left of me. I dialed Anna. My voice shook with anger. We've got a problem. On the other end, she let out a short, almost affectionate laugh. Let me guess. Ethan decided not to back down. He's asking for half of everything and alimony. Anna scoffed, her disdain almost tangible. He thinks he can wear you down with bluffing. Then let's fight, I said, even though my stomach was in knots. He picked the wrong opponent, she replied, sparking a flicker of hope in me. 4 days later, we were side by side in her office. The case file rested on the desk, every page a cruel reminder of the life I thought I'd built with Ethan. Anna smacked the cover firmly. He doesn't stand a chance. But beating him on paper was just the beginning. We still had to expose his lies, prove every expense I'd covered, and above all, protect what he was trying to steal, my peace. As we gathered evidence, I realized I wasn't just fighting for assets. I was fighting to reclaim my own story, and this time there was no way I'd back down. He'd already put everything in third parties' names before he even filed. Legally, there's nothing left for him. And the alimony demand? No way. You've always supported the household. I let out a breath, feeling relief mix with the discomfort that had become routine. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. Watch out, Laura. Ethan doesn't play by the rules. A shiver ran up my spine. I gripped the phone tight and for a moment almost let it shake me, but I couldn't give in now. 3 days later, the vibe at the office felt different. Whispers, sideways looks, a silence that broke every time I showed up. I thought it was paranoia, until Rachel, my assistant, came in pale. You need to see this. She set a printout on the desk. It was an anonymous post on a corporate forum. CFO siphons funds to hide money from husband during divorce. Someone gonna investigate? Below, dozens of comments. One nailed it. I know who it is, Laura. My name exposed as a synonym for fraud. Rage flared hot. It's Ethan, I said, voice icy. Rachel nodded. If this picks up steam, your career's toast. I steadied my shaking hands. I built all this on my own. He's not wiping out my story. I'm talking to Anna now. He's not getting away with this. Hours later, I met my lawyer in a quiet cafe and laid everything out. Anna listened in silence, eyes narrowed. He wants to kill your reputation. This is a narrative war, not a courtroom one. I took a deep breath. She was right. Then let's hit back, I said. If he loves the spotlight, we'll turn it on so bright he can't handle it. Anna cracked a half smile. Get ready, Laura. The next scene is ours. He tried to push me to the edge. I'm not backing down. My voice came out steady, even with my chest heavy. Unfazed, Anna laid out the plan. We'll send a cease and desist. If he spins another lie, we sue for defamation and damages. That strategy lit something in me. Ethan thought I'd break, but he was wrong. I set my jaw. Let's do it. 3 days later, in Anna's office, she slid a thick envelope across the desk. We've got news. Ethan's suing us for financial fraud. The floor vanished under my feet. "Fraud?" I stammered. "He claims you siphoned money from joint accounts before moving your assets," she explained, voice steady. "And he brought a co-author." I opened the filing. The name on top sent a chill down my spine. Ilya Maroro. "Who's he?" "A specialist in cooking the books. Investigated before, never convicted. Every page I turned stoked my anger." "Those transactions aren't mine." Anna kept the calm I needed. "We knew something was off. If we don't move fast, the charge could stick." I shut the dossier, fingers trembling. "Can we prove the forgery?" Determination flashed in her eyes. "More than that. We'll turn their weapon into evidence for us. A forensic expert's already on it." I breathed deep. The game had changed, and now the pressure was on Ethan and his accomplice. I spent 7 days swimming in anxiety and resolve. The phone never left my hand. Every buzz flipped my stomach. On the afternoon of day 8, Anna called me in. There was a spark in her look I hadn't seen in weeks. "You're gonna like this," she said, sliding a file across. "They messed up, big time." I opened it. The transactions Ethan pinned on me were dated before my account even existed. Air rushed into my lungs like I was breathing again after forever. "They didn't check their own documents," I muttered. "And we won't let it slide," Anna added. "We'll ask the court to toss the case and file for defamation and evidence tampering." 3 days later, our countersuit hit the courthouse. Ethan Reynolds and Ilya Maroro, accused of forging evidence to ruin me financially. Every line was a clean punch at their facade. That night, I sat on the couch with a mug of hot coffee. For the first time, the silence felt warm. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You think you won, huh?" snarled the voice. I knew it instantly. "Good evening, Ethan. I see your lawyer's been in touch." He spat threats, vowed revenge. I listened, calm. When he finished, I spoke low but firm. "The one who doesn't know who they're messing with is you." I hung up, smile still there. For the first time, the fear had switched sides. The wall clock ticked, but no one breathed when the judge took his seat. Across the room, Ethan gripped the table edge like it could keep him afloat. The pristine suit hid little. His white knuckles said everything. The judge flipped through the case file. Each turn snapped through the silence. "According to the forensic report, the cited transactions predate the plaintiff's account," he declared without looking up. A whisper rippled through the gallery. I locked eyes with Ethan. A brief twitch near his eye, a clenched jaw. He got it. So did I. The judge went on. "The defendant's documents are therefore fabricated." Anna, at my right, let out a tight laugh. Months of waiting ignited in one breath. The gavel came down. "All claims by Mr. Reynolds are dismissed. He will cover the plaintiff's costs." Ethan's shoulders sagged. The rigid posture, crafted over countless hearings, crumbled right there. His lawyer tried to object. A single gesture from the judge shut him up. "And for the deliberate forgery of these papers, I'm opening a criminal inquiry against the defendant and his collaborator." This time there was no whisper, only vacuum. Ethan froze, as if the weight of his own lies crushed his chest. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. It was the risk of losing everything. The gavel struck again. Session adjourned. Anna met my gaze. "Knockout," she murmured. Ethan left first, dragging his feet. Old confidence turned to dust. I followed at a distance, letting him feel every inch of my presence. His fall still echoed, and I knew the story was only beginning. When the judge struck the gavel, he sealed more than the end of the case. He sealed Ethan's fate. Across the room, he stared at me, shoulders tense, no words left. That was enough. His silence confirmed my win. I walked out of the courthouse, letting the cold air clear the months-old fear from my lungs. I hadn't just won a case, I'd toppled the man who tried to take everything I built. The next week, his lawyer showed up with a desperate offer: drop everything and dodge a criminal probe. I turned it down on the spot. Ethan built his own trap. It was up to him to live with the fallout. 15 days later, rumors were flying around the finance world. People whispered about Ethan's busted scheme, his pathetic attempt to twist the law for himself. The company fired him, his once unbreakable reputation shattered. To pay the legal bills, he sold the sports car. Soon after, the luxury condo was up for sale. Everything he tried to take from me, he lost 10 times worse. Each loss screamed his own arrogance. On a quiet night, I sat on the couch with a glass of wine and stared at the city lights. My phone buzzed. "Congrats, Laura." "He's finally down for good," Anna wrote. I smiled. The weight of the last few months evaporated. The scars are still there, but they don't define me anymore. The silence in the apartment, once suffocating, is now a refuge. For the first time in a long while, I breathed without that tightness in my chest, no longer waiting for the next threat. Right then, I knew starting over wasn't a distant dream. It was my new reality. When the door closed behind Ethan, the heaviness of those days blew away. Winning had cost every ounce of courage, but the victory was now undisputed, and all mine. While he stared at the emptiness he'd created, I breathed the lightness of someone who'd reclaimed everything that was hers. Anna didn't let the moment slide. "Let's celebrate," she declared, her voice buzzing with pride. Hours later, a classy restaurant wrapped us in soft light. My closest friends waited, and the room burst into applause the moment I walked in. That warm sound was the perfect reminder of who stayed by my side when the darkness felt endless. With her glass raised, Anna toasted, "To Laura, living proof you should never underestimate a smart woman with a plan." I clinked my glass against hers. The wine flowed smoothly, washing away the bitterness of the past. Beatrice, calm, tilted her head. "How does it feel knowing he's left with nothing?" I set my glass down, searching for the right words. "It's relief," I said firmly. "But above all, it's freedom. I took back every piece of me he tried to steal." Beatrice nodded, and the chatter around us swelled, celebrating the resilience that kept us standing. "And now?" she asked. I filled my lungs with the city's buzzing air. "Now I'm going to live," I said, feeling a smile spread, "and I'll never let anyone have that power over me again." Glasses lifted once more, voices echoing through the room. We weren't just cheering my win, we were honoring the collective strength that kept us on our feet. Later, I walked alone down the avenue. The rhythm of my heels kept pace with the night. Chicago glimmered, scattering gold across storefronts and turning asphalt into a mirror. I kept walking, sure every reflected light promised a future no one could take from me again. October's breeze brushed my face like a reminder. I was alive and free. I pulled my coat tighter, savoring the sense that every moment ahead was mine. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. "This isn't over." I smiled. Ethan was still trying to grab the reins. I tapped the screen, hit block, and let silence finish the sentence. In 2 seconds, he lost all access to the stage of my life. The balcony greeted me with a horizon of lights stretching as far as courage can reach. I breathed deep. The air already felt lighter, as if the past stayed inside when I shut the door. I hadn't won just in court or on bank statements. My trophy was invisible. It belonged to the part of me that reclaimed the right to exist without anyone's permission. I looked back, not to suffer, but to remember why this victory matters. There were days I mistook hope for a red alert, days I bet love was enough. It wasn't. The knife came from the hands I trusted most. Betrayal hurts, but it doesn't have to define you. When the blow landed, I found a choice. Stay down or rise like someone learning to dance through crossfire. I rose, and in the process, I built armor out of plans, accounts, and self-care. Now, when the wind blows, it doesn't bring bitter memories. It carries the sound of pages turning. Ethan is an old paragraph. I'm the new chapter. If you ever feel the same cut, let it heal into strength. Block the number, close the door, but keep your heart open for the person who needs you most. Yourself. The night is far from over, and the story is mine to tell now. He used to say love meant total transparency, sharing money, dreams, and vulnerabilities without filters. Life, though, showed me trust needs groundwork, especially when money and power join the mix. Ethan saw me as an easy piece on his chessboard. He planned every move, sure I'd crumble under pressure. I stayed calm. I watched. I drew up a strategy. And at the exact moment, I flipped the game. His hurry revealed the cracks in his lies, and that's where I struck back. I took back what was mine. As the wine slides down, its slight bitterness reminds me of the pain that forged my strength. The past is back there, printed like a scar, now just a reference. Ahead lies a future that belongs only to me. Life isn't always fair. Sometimes betrayal comes from the ones we love most. But Laura's story isn't just about a divorce. It's about resilience, planning, and self-protection. When money mixes with affection, never hand over control of your life. If disappointment shows up someday, take a deep breath, map out a plan, and move when the time is right. The greatest victory isn't revenge, it's finding your essence again and standing tall in front of whoever tried to bring you down. What did you think of this story? Leave your comment and stay tuned for more tales of strength, recovery, and the human spirit that refuses to give in.